Yeah, guys, it's like my third time trying to make this video. Let me go ahead. Okay, so a guy like myself who grew up on the west side of Chicago, near where I grew up in K-Town, and then I grew up in Garfield Park also. And I think I saw something on YouTube. They was talking about the hood, Garfield Park, Chicago. I think they mentioned how Martin Luther King used to live in Garfield Park, and then they talk about how it basically burned down after he was assassinated and stuff like that. And then when you look at Garfield Park today, you know, obviously there's still areas that need to be fixed. Chicago's an interesting city. I mean, when you start from downtown, you know, everything looks good. And then when you leave the downtown area, then, you know, you see the University of Chicago. And then after you leave that area, you know, you see the Bull Stadium. And then after you leave that area, you're in the hood. And then after you leave that area, you're in the suburbs. So it's not that big. But, you know, guys, obviously I'm inexperienced in a lot of things. And there's a lot of things I don't know about financial matters, communities, all types of things, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know anything. But one thing I do know is that money doesn't make changes, people do. You can have all the money that you want to, unless you have people who committed to helping with a particular project, like, you know, revamping Garfield Park, Chicago. I mean, money doesn't mean nothing. I know oftentimes I mentioned how they can spend billions of dollars on a football stadium, but you can't, you know, build up get rid of an impoverished neighborhood. Well, I mean, it's easier said than done. And obviously, you know, that's a cynical statement. But that's why I'm making this video to, you know, I understand that, you know, it's people that you need. You can have all the money you want to. If you don't have the people invested in it, it don't matter how much money you have. It ain't getting done. One of the reasons you can build $1 billion football stadium is that you actually have the people that, you know, me, I like watching football. I ain't gonna lie. You know, you can have maybe, I don't know, 600 or 700 people committed to a project on a football stadium. But imagine how many people you need committed to a project on a neighborhood. Probably more than 600 or 700, or however many people it takes. I don't even think it takes that many people to agree about a football stadium. You know, so in a situation of a football stadium, you know, they say if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. You know, it's a football stadium. If you have the dollars, it's like it does make sense because you don't need that many people on a project like that. Not as many people as a community, obviously. And not only do you have to have people committed to a project like that who are from the outside, you actually have to have people who are on the inside who committed to that project as well. So it all goes back to, you can love somebody all you want to. They have to love themselves. It's only so much you can do. You know, it's a whole different thing difference between a football stadium and a community. Now, just to wrap it up, the only thing that come across my mind as to how you would fix a situation like, you know, Garfield Park, you know, only thing I could think of is, you know, it could be a systematic thing where you can build a number of community centers and different zoning locations where you can transition the people who lived in the so-called hood to those community centers, have program centers within those community centers, you know, things for the children, things for the adults, lunch programs, until you finish the projects of tearing down those old apartment buildings, building it back up, and then transitioning those people who you put in the community centers back into those homes and putting them under the same financial situation that they may or may not have been in when they was, you know, there. So that way you can put a lot of focus on a neighborhood like Garfield Park by transitioning people to a community. So we're talking about, obviously these community centers will be really big. You might have to build like 15 of them or something. You know, these people who be relocated into these community centers, they'll be in community center 1 or 2 or 7 or this. But you have to have the people committed to something like that. You know, you could have, let's say a football stadium costs $5 billion and to rebuild a neighborhood costs $15 billion. If you don't have the people, the manpower, it don't matter how much money you got, it ain't getting built. So a lot of times people say, well, you know, you got all these rich black celebrities, how come they can't do nothing for it? Because you got to have the people. It's not about the money. You got to actually have the people, the number of people. It's not about one person. one celebrity who makes $250 million a year. You got to have a lot of people committed to the same thing. Everybody focus on a celebrity, but they ain't talking about, what actually needs to be done to make those changes. So yeah, that's what comes across my mind when you talk about an area like Garfield Park in Chicago. You have to build those community centers so you can repurpose these people and focus on all the problems. Tear all that garbage down that you call the hood, and build up new stuff, and then put those people back into those places. You gotta show those people you care about them. But just to close it out, that's the only thing that comes across my mind. You make it as a so-called black person, a lot of people gonna think, well, how come he not helping where he came from? And just close it out. You have to have people, not money. You have to have people on the outside that care, and you also have to have people on the inside that care about the same thing. It's like it's up to you. It's not up to your politicians. It's actually up to you.